What Lonzo thinks is a wide-ranging, free-flowing discussion where I offer my unsolicited views on everything from music, movies, politics, sports, religion, pop culture. My thoughts are unsolicited, nobody cares, but I give it anyway, and hopefully one day you will care. And I have a special guest. Mike, are you there?
Yeah, man, I'm here, buddy.
All right, thanks for joining us. Oh, by the way, what's your last name? Which name we're going with?
Yeah, this is Mike Jurgelovich tonight.
Okay,
What's the
Mike
crazy on the last
Jurgelovich.
name?
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
yeah,
all
man.
right. So thanks for joining me, and this is
Yeah,
this is one of my few shows. I call this a show of necessity. With everything that's going on
yeah,
in the world today, I think it's very important that as many people talk about what's going on with the coronavirus as possible, as much information as we can get out there. I think it's just important that everybody has an outlet other than the media outlets to kind of hear just what the people who are actually going through it at the ground level um, think and things of that nature. Obviously, everybody's going through it, but I guess John Q. Citizen needs to hear from John Q. Citizen every once in a while as well, instead of the talking heads we see on television. So, that being said, dude, let's do this.
yeah, man. I'm not really sure that we really outlined, the way we were going to go through this, but I thought we might just start by my understanding of what this thing is, and then
Well,
maybe kind of recap what's gone on in Georgia, and then maybe we can talk a little bit about what you're experiencing and what I'm experiencing. I think it'd be good kind of to do that, and then maybe look back on all this, and then maybe see what we think of what the government and what some of the states are doing about this and what we think about it. I
oh,
might have a
absolutely.
different opinion, or we might both have a similar opinion about what we think is going on or should be going on or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
But we're
obviously,
living it. We're definitely living it. So whether we
yeah,
think about it or don't think that, we're definitely living it.
that's true. Yes, a lot to talk about. So actually, what I did was I actually um, went to the internet and pulled out the timeline of the virus.
Sure. Oh, great.
So what I'll do is we'll just kind of start from there. Obviously, it's called the coronavirus. I'm not a doctor. I'm not in the medical community, um, so forgive me if I mispronounce or misstate some things. I'm not an expert. I want to say that out front. All right. But
Sure.
as far as we know, the coronavirus surfaced in the Chinese seafood and poultry industry at some point in late 2019. And since its inception, it has spread to over 100 countries throughout the planet. It has killed upwards of closing in on 10,000 people, and obviously is infected and made a lot of people sick. It's highly
Yep.
contagious, and it is spreading like wildfire across the planet. So, according to the timeline, the first recognition of the coronavirus was on December 31st, and when the Chinese authorities treated dozens of cases of what they thought was pneumonia. At that time, they didn't know exactly what it was, but they did identify it as a new virus that was baffling them. Okay. And then the first death occurred on January 11th, once again in China. So let's start from there. Okay, I want you to think back to late December, early January. When was the first time you became aware of the coronavirus, and what were your initial thoughts?
Well, I don't think it was that early, but I will say a couple interesting things. On New Year's Eve, I literally felt like I was getting sick
Oh, really?
with the flu.
Oh,
Yeah, and I went through probably about a week and a half, with flu-like symptoms, coughing, all the coughing up stuff, coughing, and couldn't breathe very well. And I ended up finally going to the doctor, and they did flu tests and said, well, no, you don't have the flu, and you haven't had the flu. And so I feel like that, I don't know that I had coronavirus. Let me just go there. But what I'm trying to get at is people can get things sometimes and assume it's the flu. And then you get enough people that are complaining in a region, like, Chinese, and man, there's a lot of people hitting the hospitals or hitting the doctors with this weird flu thing. Then I guess they decided to try to figure out what it was. But these Chinese, what you're calling a poultry or food markets, they're called wet markets. And
right.
for a lack of a better word, you might see anything on there. I mean, you might see bat wings or lizard meat. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. And the last, I think, like H1N1, SARS, about 5 out of the last, maybe even more, of these exotic viruses or novel viruses they call it. Novel meaning there's never been one like it, have come out of these wet markets from China. And that's like in the last 10, 12 years, dude. So it's definitely a problem. And you would think maybe they would crack down on that or do something about those markets. But what you're getting is people eating exotic meat or unhandled exotic meat, and then they're getting these viruses, and then it spreads from one to the next. And depending on your connection to China or travel or what people are doing business-wise, that's where it starts spreading. And then boom, you get what ends up being pandemics. Sometimes they are still pandemics, and we don't react like we're reacting now. And then other times, we haven't anything like bubonic plague or polio in our lifetimes, but those things do happen sometimes. The first time I can remember hearing anything about it, and I did not think anything about my sickness other than just being like, it was really annoying. In fact, it took about a month and a half for me to get rid of that cough or finally recover, and most of it was early on, but I still had kind of a lingering where I just wasn't breathing correctly.
Hello?
January. And it seems to me like, can you hear me?
Yeah, I lost you for a second there. Go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, it seems to me like, I think, and probably one of the things that Trump did wrong, it seemed like he made a speech about it and was basically saying, hey, this thing's over there, it's not here, we've got very few cases, or we don't have anything here, and the few cases, this should dwindle down, it's not a big problem. And I think he probably misspoke about it at the time. I really do. It's probably one of the things that went wrong pretty early on. As far as I say went wrong, it's one of the things he probably did wrong, because I think it kind of maybe minimized what this thing was going to become. And so that's about the first time I remember anything about it. But for people that don't know what this thing is, a coronavirus it looks like a ball with these little spikes on it, and those spikes are what attaches to the cells in your body. And the spikes are on different viruses, different places. Rhinoviruses, they like the mucosa of the nose or the lining of the nose or the inside of your nasal passages and tend to work there or attack you there. Whereas this coronavirus, it preferably likes to attach to lung cells or cells that are similar to that. So what the virus does is it injects this DNA through that connection, that little spike, and then that DNA gets into the DNA of the cell, and then the cell replicates more virus. And then you get so much replication and so much virus being created inside that cell that the cell bursts, and then all those other little virus particles come out and then go to the next cell. So you can understand why over time, if your body doesn't make antibodies to kill it, or your body doesn't take care of it, then it just ravages your lung. I mean, that's basically what's so deadly about it. And then eventually, if you get enough areas of your lung that are leaking and putting out fluids, then you can get pneumonia, and then you can't. You're losing the ability to transfer air into your lungs, transfer air into your lungs into the bloodstream, and so you basically become almost like you're suffocating. You can't breathe, you can't get enough oxygen. You're filling up with liquids in your lungs. It's a pretty horrible way to die if you do die from that. So, I mean, that sort of stuff is going on to young people too. It's not. The older people and the people that are immunocompromised are the ones that are dying because they're having a hard time if they have a serious case of it. So younger people are able to, fight it out, duke it out, and get through it. But unfortunately, some of them are still going to the hospital. Just because you're young doesn't mean this thing can't hospitalize you, man. So anyway, I think that when I first started thinking this was going to be a real problem was probably about 2 weeks ago. We, do a lot of traveling with some other people with a music band, and we're listening to the radio and whatnot and news, and it was becoming more and more of a story. But it's not something that I've seen in my lifetime. I mean, I can't think of anything that's been this serious in our lifetimes, man.
Yeah, I agree.
I think something comparable to this would be like the Civil War, as far as economic, and then just people freaking out or going nuts over something. I mean, it's even World War II. I mean, 9/11 was bad, but it was just regional in a way. We didn't know for a short time we didn't know what we're doing, what was going to happen, but it didn't stop. Supply of food. It didn't stop. We had medical. Everything was available. I mean, this is just something like I've never seen before.
Right.
And one of the things I want to talk about later, at some point, we'll get to that. Is this? Are we overreacting? Are we acting enough? Or is this something we need to be this crazy about? Or I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I just would like to talk about it. Maybe see what you think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Same here. And one of the things that I want to touch on, first of all, is you spoke about the Chinese wet markets and the exotic meats that they're eating, and that possibly introduce this virus to the rest of the world. So one of the first things I thought about when learning about this is that obviously these animals that are being eaten have been around just as long as we have. It's not like these are new animals or anything like that. They might be new to the human diet. So my thought is that it could be a case where over the span of hundreds of thousands of years, or however many years that the planet's been here, that the human body has built up a tolerance through genetics to these exotic meats. But when you introduce meats that are new to the human ecosystem, so to speak, to where now these animals that weren't eaten before are now being eaten, and the body has not built up a defense for it. Therefore, it is attacking us in the way that it's attacking us, that we can't really fight it off. Is there any thought behind that?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, I think there's parts of the planet where there's animals we've not documented. There's probably insects and things of that nature. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people, they think of China. I mean, they do have an incredible military. They have a lot of technology that they've ripped it off from much of the rest of the world. But, they have some things that they've done outright that are great. But also, it's really not a free regime it's not free like America there. And there is a large numbers of population there that don't live like we do. I don't know if this Wuhan province where all this is going on is not like Chinatown in New York or something.
Right.
It's not. There's some pretty fairly rundown places there, and you got very very wide range of people that some of them have very well economy or very very well their lives are nicer than the others. I mean, there's a big disparity in certain regions in China. I don't think people understand that until they go there. It's a huge, huge landmass, billions of people. It's not. I mean, I just think that it's not quite as civilized, and I'm trying to not be, ugly about it. I mean, there's just frankly, there's places on Earth that aren't quite as civilized or as broad, as other nations. And there's parts of China that are like that. I mean, it's just a fact, man. And the fact is, when you have a source like that, if this was going on, let's say in America, they had like some area where people were, producing some product, and 6 of the last 9 world pandemics have come out of that specific region, I think the United States would probably do something about that. Don't you think? I mean, I think we would probably, we would regulate that or, cut it out, completely stop it. The fact is that this is something that's really going on, and it's almost mind-boggling.
Well, Mike,
to me.
Mike. I mean, so can it be a numbers thing to the point where, and hear me out on this, a numbers thing to where obviously China's the most populated country on the planet. There's billions of people there, and there's just not enough food to go around. Therefore, the people in the Wuhan province or in these outlying areas or whatever are forced to feed on whatever is available. That I guess that the more common people in that area or would tend to eat. So say, for example, okay, economically we can't afford to feed ourselves. Therefore, we have to go out and kill bats and kill these exotic animals that we haven't, really, feasted on before. And now we're introducing something new to our bodies, and our bodies can't react to it. So it's attacking us, and now we're passing it on. because economically these people just could not, they can't go and eat a cow. It's not available
Right.
to them, or goats or
Right.
whatever. So they have
Right.
to eat that lizard that they found that nobody's seen for 1,000 years.
Yeah, it's a communist nation, so there's no shock that with that many people, there's going to be issues like that. Yeah. So I'm not shocked by it. I think what you're saying is absolutely correct. I don't even really blame the people for doing what they're doing. And when I say exotic meat, I don't mean it in a like, hey, let's try this exotic meat and spend hundreds of dollars for
Right.
special steak or something. This is when I say exotic, maybe a better word would be it's just probably stuff you and I would look at and go, maybe that's not safe to eat.
Yeah. Exactly.
But like
Exactly.
you said, maybe it's what they have access to. So.
Right.
But anyway, I do think that the nation government or whatever of China, in some ways, should. The way that the communist nations tend to have this sort of stuff going on whenever they can't. And there's just that many people, and they don't have a. They're using a pseudo-capitalist model in certain instances, and then a top-down tyranny communist model in other parts of their nation. I mean, this is a place that was forced sterilizing women. I mean, it was forcing people to abort children because of the population and whatnot. I mean, and I could go on and on. I mean, you remember Tiananmen Square when the tank was in front of the kid. I mean, these sort of stuff just doesn't happen here in America. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it seems to me, I mean, I at a certain point, the rest of the world says, hey, you're going to have to do something about this. I mean, we're now, I don't know what they said the total damage is globally, but I think it's getting to be like 10 trillion now or something. Like $10 trillion of lost economic damage is 10 trillion right now and growing. I mean, there's a point where other nations are going to be like, hey, you got to do something about this wet market thing, or all these things are coming from one nation. Yeah, they got a lot of people, but so does India, or so does the whole entire total of Europe. You know what I mean? There's a point where you're in control of this zone, and I think it's something that I don't know if many people know that, but most of these novel viruses in the last decade have come out of China. Yeah.
Yeah, and once again, I think
influenza virus, the different types of that usually start over there and work their way over here too every year. I mean, it is what it is, man.
right, exactly, and like I said, I think once again it's an economic and availability thing. So
Yep.
let's jump back into the timeline. Okay, January 20th was when other countries started reporting cases. So
Okay.
it started December 31st. Then January 11th, first death. 9 days later, it is spread to other countries. Okay, now we push forward here to January 23rd. So this is just bang bang bang.
Right.
So Wuhan gets shut off January 23rd, and the Wuhan province has over 10 million people. China totally shut them down. Okay, but by this point, it is too late. And by this time, this is January 23rd, 17 people had died, documented, and almost 600 infected in Taiwan, Japan, Thailand, South Korea, and the United States.
Yeah. Hold on a second.
Sure.
I do want to say something real quick here.
Mm-hmm.
There was some people reporting this from China, a couple doctors. I don't know if you read all this, and some of these guys are literally missing now. I don't know. I mean, this is not me being like a conspiracy nut or whatever. I mean, there's some of the people that were like blowing the horn about this in China were silent, and they were able to lock down Wuhan. But I think there was something I read somewhere like 5 million people had already left the area before they actually finally locked it down.
Uh-huh.
And when I say lock it down, a place like China can do that in a way that we just would not allow here. I mean, when they lock it down, they lock it down. I mean, I didn't really prepare by getting a lot of articles or nothing about all that, but There was also a point where they formally announced that they knew about this, but I mean, information's coming out now. In fact, that Xi, the leader of China, or whatever, the prime minister, whatever you call it,
Right.
it was there. I mean, there's documents where they show he knew about it, was taking action much sooner than or was trying to look into it and do more things much sooner than when they formally told the world about it. So I'm not even saying China did, purposely tried to do anything, but they did purposely silence the people, and they purposely did do some things to try to minimize this being. Because once again, I think this is the fifth or sixth pandemic coming out of there, and China right now is going broke, and so global trade and some of the other things in these relationships. This is probably going to be the straw in the back of some countries and some businesses. I mean, there's a point where this sort of thing going on over and over again, and the way they handled it, I don't know. But anyway, my point here is that there was probably room for them to be more transparent about it, and to have been addressing this sooner, and allowing people that could see on the ground what was going on, rather than silencing those folks. But maybe in a way, Trump did something similar when he was just saying, "Oh, this isn't a big deal. Don't worry about it. We got it under control." Probably said that a little too early. So anyway, it spread, and I mean, countries like Italy, China, very wide open things, and I think that I could go into that here in a little bit if you want to, but I mean, there may be reasons why some nations were hit harder than others. I just feel like that it should be said here that again, China's not like a free nation like we are, and the way they handle things and handle the press. I mean, you know how it is, man. They don't allow certain things being on their internet. You can't just post anything there. You can't just communicate any way you want there. I mean, they had the basketball players. I don't remember what was going on, but remember all that?
Yeah.
Brouhaha. I mean, so it's a big deal to them how they handle all this stuff. But anyway, go ahead with your timeline. I mean, it spread to other nations. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, the point that I was trying to make.
I just want to interject that. Yeah,
no, that's fine. That's totally fine. Anytime you want. But the point I'm trying to make with this timeline is we're about 30 days in, and by the time we hit the end of January, it's too late. It is already is out there, and there's nothing that can be done to stop it at this point. So for the folks that are listening and who haven't been following it, it only took, once again, it took less than 30 days for this to basically get out of control on a global scale. So that's huge.
From what we know, like I said, I may have had something in January. This thing may have been around much longer. Who knows? I mean, this is when it finally became like something where it was classified, and when I say classified, it was identified. But maybe it's been out even longer than that. We didn't have a whole lot of tests here in the United States until recently, so you're going to see the numbers of people that have it shooting up. That doesn't necessarily mean it's spreading that fast. It just means that these people have already had it, and now they're getting tested for it. Although it is spread, don't get me wrong. There's no doubt about that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it definitely started there at some point, for sure.
Right.
And it doesn't take long. This thing's pretty viral. Yeah. Now, from what I'm gathering, what I'm reading, from what I'm looking at my own eyeballs.
Yeah, absolutely. So
it didn't take long. You're right. Yeah.
No, not at all. So if we push into February, which is obviously just over a month ago, by mid-February is over 14,000 new cases that have been reported since the end of January. So once again, this is just growing at a geometric rate, and there's no way to know the true numbers. Like you said, there are folks who might have had it, like you may have had it, and just fought through it, thought it was just a bad cold, and just pushed on. So as far as the numbers that we have documented, my thing is, okay, from the numbers that are documented, I think you should go the numbers you're documented times 3. In my opinion.
Yeah, could be, yeah.
Yeah, in my opinion. So say, if it's 100,000, in actuality, it's 300,000. Okay? Because once again, you can have it, not even know it, is not really affecting you in the way that it affects maybe some other people. Therefore, you're passing it on. and you don't even know it. So by the time we get to Valentine's Day in France, the city of love, we got the first death reported in Europe. So
Yeah.
so here we are. So let's pick up right here. Okay, now we come to mid-February. This thing is global. We know it's global. What are we doing in the United States to stop it? Now let's think back to mid-February. From your recollection, were we doing enough, or were we doing anything at all? Me, my opinion, we weren't doing shit. So
Yeah, I don't know that Americans at that time in general were too worried about it. I mean, it just wasn't something that I think it's a little overly hyped now, but it was definitely not hyped at all there. And like I said, I don't remember the exact date where the president finally had a conference about it, or maybe a tweet about it, or whatever it was. But he definitely was not playing it up then. And to be fair, it wasn't quite as bad then as it is now, obviously, globally. But some of these nations are already on the decline. Like Wuhan area is starting to have less. It's starting to go down. So maybe it'll just drift off just about as fast as it blew up. But right now we have the economy, and a lot of world nations are getting really crushed. I'm worried about us getting sick, but I'm also worried about the way we're handling it and what this means for the future of the United States, and really in the immediate 6 months, people's jobs and whatnot. That's a whole part of the discussion later, but it's not part of the timeline at this point. I don't recall us being all that freaked out about it. Now, obviously, the CDC was talking about it. I had people posting, well, you've gotten the flu as many of the times. There's only this many cases. But, what people don't realize, this is not the flu. It's just like the flu. And it has apparently more easier to spread. It's about 10 times more deadly to certain populations than the flu. And because of those factors, what I gathered when they finally started talking about this in a big way, I'm not sure when it was, but it was definitely in the last 3 weeks, was that they were worried about so many people getting it so quick and so many people needing hospitalization that there wouldn't be enough beds. And then so you have people that would have the need for ventilators, or older populations that could survive if they got medical care, not being able to get medical care. Or the medical care areas are so flooded that you and I get in a car accident and we need medical care, but all the beds are taken, or the doctors are tied up, and we're not getting taken care of as quickly, even though we don't have the virus. You see what I'm saying? You just overwhelm the kind of what's going on in Italy, really.
okay, now this is where I'm going to veer off from you a little bit, and this is where I'm going to disagree. Okay, and I want you to follow me on this. All right, okay. I think at this point, American arrogance takes place to where we're not looking at it as something that's serious, because even though obviously we have more freedom than any other country or whatever, we always, I think that as a people, we look at what happens overseas in other places or whatever, things like this, as their problem. Is not going to bother us. We got more important things to do. March Madness is coming up. Got the NBA playoffs coming up, the Super Bowl, all this stuff. We got to go to work. We got all the other, big movies coming out. Just all the other things that we deem more important. Because we feel that we are isolated. Not well, I guess you say isolated. But we are immune to the things that happen in other countries, because we're so technologically advanced that we have the resources and the network to basically take care of anything that happens, to the point where we get lulled into this false sense of security to where it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. It's a bad case of the flu. Move on. And I think that arrogance is what allowed it to get to the point that it is right now. What are your thoughts?
Well, I certainly think there's a bit of people putting their heads in the sand and being arrogant. You had all those spring breakers that just said, "Screw it, we're going to
Exactly.
spring break,
Yeah.
and we're going to be out here." And they're like licking toilet seats and sharing suckers and beer cans, and because it wasn't illegal for them to be out there, they were going to do their thing. Damn it, they give a damn about what else is going on. Pardon the language, but I think that there is a side of that. I also think that in the past, America's had some things happen. It's been a long time where, I mean, polio will kill Americans just like it will anybody else. And I do think that Americans are good at coming up with ingenuity to handle these things, but you can't always count on that happening. I mean, and I think it's a mistake to say, well, America always finds an answer. That's just what we do. I mean, it's good to have that mentality, and in the past we have been very good at handling world or national crisis, sometimes way better than many other nations. You know, we're the ones that find the answer or find the cure or find the whatever. But to just think that that is going to happen when it hasn't happened, especially some sort of new virus or some sort of new thing, I think it's a wake-up call in many ways. And like, again, I'd like to go into that down the line when we get further in, because I don't think a lot of people were prepared for this at all. And so we're just all going through it not knowing really how to feel or how to act. But if a president or somebody from a disease control center in the United States was just saying, well, we shouldn't worry about this because America is able to handle these things better than anybody, I kind of like some of that, but I also don't think that that's the correct thing whenever we clearly don't have enough. I mean, if we had a spike, there's just no way to house that many people in our hospitals. We just don't have that many hospitals. We just don't have that many beds, that many ventilators. So I don't know that it's going to get to that point, or if it would have gotten to that point without this shutdown and all that we're doing. I don't know. But I do agree with you to a point that, and I think maybe I'm guilty of it too. You know, I'm a proud American, and look at what we've done in the past, and look at how we handle things generally as a nation. And you like to think that we're pretty, you know, as Americans, we have that mentality, and you know, we'll do what we got to do and handle it. But sometimes when the chips are down, or people they start freaking out. It's not every American who has that ability to fight it, or you know, or go out there and put themselves in the line of danger. Some of them do turtle up, or what all. You find out all that talk is cheap whenever you really have to start being in the line of fire for something like this, or being involved in it, or living through something like this. So, yeah, there's a little bit of American arrogance. Some of that is earned, and some of it isn't earned. Some of the people today are the people that went ahead of us, did all the work, or did all the bleeding. You know, whether it's civil rights, whether it's you know fighting back Germany, whether it's fighting civil wars. There's people that did the work, did the bleeding. Got the nation to be like it is, and some of us live off of the fruits of their labors and just assume that that all Americans are that way, but not all can. We can be arrogant like that. I don't want to run it into the ground. But I will say that a lot of times it is America or American ingenuity that comes up with the answers for these things.
I mean, but that's the point.
Government either. It's not always politicians or government either. It's some guy that comes up with the answer, or some group of people, or some I don't always equate government with real America or real Americans or American ingenuity. You know what I mean?
Right, but that's the point. That's the point that I'm trying to make is that the fact that we have this ingenuity and we're and we're able to fight through these things, it has created a false sense of security to where it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
So we look at it, maybe the rest of the world is crying wolf, over something that's not, that we really don't have to worry about. And then by the time we find out that it really is a wolf and not being, we're not crying wolf, then it's just too late to react, because by this time, jumping back into the timeline, by February 24th is the first time that the current administration asked Congress for money in regards to the coronavirus. That is way too late. That is way too late, because we're talking almost 2 full months before the first real government action takes place from a position of proaction versus reaction. Well, it's very reactive. It's very reactive. And it's a late reaction.
90% reactive, not as much proactive, and I'll get into that too. And I'm trying to be apolitical on this and go into this with what I see and what I'm reading, because I mean, in the end, if you and I get this and die, it won't matter who was president. It won't matter.
Hello?
And why they did it and what the reasons are. It's not. I'm trying not to be political about this. But I will point the finger where it needs to be pointed. If there's finger pointed needs to be pointed.
Well,
I think they're actually maybe they're going a little too far. Is my point. And I'm talking about people that I would vote for or have voted for. You know, maybe going a little too far. I think they got the bulldozer and they're running over everything. So, I mean, and I'm not sure that the money and all these decisions are actually targeting what needs to be targeted, in my view. Like I said, I'll go into that here in a little bit. That's my view. But it's good to go through this timeline, and then maybe we can talk a little bit about what we're experiencing, or what we're seeing. Because I'm not up in Atlanta like you are. I've been pretty much holed up here for a week and 3 days, whatever it is. So, I mean, my little bit of goal, in
hello?
Atlanta, or can you hear me?
You're going in and out, in and out. I mean, are you in a bad area?
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, I'm just sitting upstairs in my house.
Oh, okay.
But I was just saying, my going out in the last 7 days is probably different than what you see in Atlanta, and obviously different than Seattle and parts of New York. So it'd be kind of interesting to hear at some point when you're through with your timeline. But I think it's important to go through the timeline for sure.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think most people, if they're being honest, the CDC made some errors. They did not do the right thing about getting enough testing out, and I think that the president probably early on made this seem like it wasn't going to be as big of a deal. And I also think that they started late as well, but not as late as, let's say, some other nations. I think we've been more ahead of it than some other places for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because in the timeline, you're absolutely right. Okay, now late February, Iran gets hit. Okay, with 61 cases, 12 deaths. Then 2 days later, Latin America reports its first case, and this was in Brazil. 2 days later, 2 days later, it strikes Africa. Nigeria reports its first confirmed case. A day later, on February 29th, leap year, February 29th, the United States records its first death from the coronavirus on February 29th. So once again, let's push back from January 31st. From December 31st to February 29th, almost 2 months to the day that the first reported case of coronavirus is reported in China. It took less than 60 days for somebody in America to die. That is amazing. Now, this is a big planet. Okay?
Yeah, and that goes with you believing that was when it was first known in China.
Right.
And
right.
And that, I mean,
based on reports.
With Iran and all these nations reporting stuff is not always
right. But based on the reports that we have.
I'm not sure the reporting in America is all that accurate, to be honest with you. I'm not saying anybody's covered anything up, but I don't know how, I don't know how accurate any of that stuff is either. But I do believe that it certainly seems to spread pretty fast. Now that people are testing, you're certainly going to see the numbers going up for sure.
So that being said, 3 days later, on March 3rd, the United States officials approved widespread coronavirus testing. So here we are once again, 2 months in, and we're finally starting testing. Now,
right.
when you say behind the curve, this is way behind the curve, way behind.
Yeah, even at that time, they didn't know how viral it was. They didn't know if it was transmitted mainly one way or the other.
But Mike, come on now. Now, come on. At this point, this is something that we have to know. We can't be getting this information on March 3rd. That is just way too late.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about the WHO. These are world organizations that weren't really sure about. I mean, these are people that are talking to all these nations. I think the biggest problem was we weren't getting a lot of information from China about what they knew about this thing. until very late. And they were the ones that should have given us the most, because that's where the biggest, if you looked at March 3rd, if you could look back and see where the giant circle of infection was, that's where it was.
Well, that being said,
so it seems like we would have a lot of information from them about
but that,
the duration of this thing. What is the transmission you guys are finding out? And so you're asking people in America to make policy when they don't really understand the virus.
but you got to keep in mind.
Really understand what's going on.
But Mike, keep in mind now. I might have skipped over this. Let me back up a little bit. On January 3rd, the WHO declared a global health emergency. So 30 days in, the WHO stepped in and said, "Hey, we got to attack this now." Okay, because when they declare a global health emergency, that's exactly what they're saying. We got a problem. This is the problem. We must attack it now. So once again, 30 days later, 33 some odd days later, America finally makes a move. That, once again, that's just way too late. It's way too late. So
this is a novel virus, so it's not like we have testing just sitting around for it.
Right.
So it has to be developed, right? So the WHO was sending out some tests, and they were, I think, when I read about it, they were like 40% false positives at the time. So the problem was, again, they didn't know the transmission of this thing. We couldn't test for it accurately. We didn't. I mean, just because you don't test, then you ain't gonna get no test.
Hello? Losing you again.
Now, yeah, are you back again? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you go, like I said, you're going in and out, in and out. Okay.
Yeah, I have no idea, Rob. But basically, what I'm trying is even now, I think the 10% false positives or something, even on the ones they have now, is what I'm reading. I don't know, man. I mean, I think South Korea, their own tests as well, and I think small nations like that, they took a different tack. They basically, apparently, tested as many people as they could, and just quarantined the ones who tested positive, and then kind of let their economy continue going, rather than shutting down everything. But that's a smaller nation. I mean, we got 320 million people, and we definitely didn't have that many tests available. And I think there was something I had to read up on the CDC, but the first test that they had out, there was a big screw up on that too. There was some problem with them. So there's been some missteps going along to this point. I think there's going to be some heads rolling on some of that stuff.
Oh, and well, it should. Well, it should.
But if we had known and reacted like we are now on January 30th, let's say, doing what we're doing right now, I mean, I don't know what this is for exactly. It sounds crazy to say that now that we're 5 to 10 days into this, depending on where you're at. It seems to me at some point we're going to come off of this, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I really want to talk about that because whether we did it then or do it now, we've just crushed one fifth of our GDP for this quarter. Economy is gone, never to return.
Yeah.
There's people that are laid off, maybe never to go back to work. And there's people right now. I mean, I was just talking to you earlier. I was in the grocery store. I couldn't find a single piece of beef of any kind, meat, steak, nothing. The shelves for the toilet paper, paper towels, anything you would wipe with, gone. It's kind of crazy to me. But anyway, if you want me to say that the United States could handle this better, sure. I don't know if me or you were in place, if we would have handled it any differently. Who knows? It's easy to point from the quarterback chair rather than when you're on the field,
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, hindsight.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a whole lot of looking back on this and saying who did right, who did wrong, or what we could have done different. I'm looking at what we're doing also right now. Like, what are the things that they're deciding on, what they're passing? And to me, these are going to be bigger problems than the virus is bad enough, I suppose. But some of the stuff that they're actually doing about it or having us do, I think may end up being a bigger damaging thing than this virus could ever be, in my opinion. But I'll go into that later. I do think it's serious, though, because Italy is showing you that if you don't have things in place and try to get ahead of the curve, then you're going to have a lot of people that are dying unnecessarily because they just can't get care and they don't have enough equipment, enough beds to handle it. And some of that is on Italy, the way they handle it. And some of it is also their ties and how much, how it's easier for the virus to spread there versus here and whatnot. But it shows that, some places, depending on how it's handled, it can get out of control. I mean, they really are going through a bad time right now. I feel bad for them.
Right.
I don't think the leaders there wanted that to happen.
Oh, no.
It's not going to, obviously, they're not going through a big political election thing as far as I know, like we are. So what's going on over there is straight up trying to handle things best they can. They've got socialized medicine. They don't have the same kind of healthcare system there as we have here. Obviously, rationing is going to happen there because there's just only so much they can do with that system. And it certainly ravaged them pretty badly. So I don't think this is some sort of a fake thing or, I don't want to minimize that it's a real virus. It certainly is.
Okay, that being said.
Sure.
Okay. That being said, okay, back to the timeline. All right. So, March 13th, the president finally declares a national emergency. 33 days after the WHO announced it as a global emergency. So 33 days later, it's a national emergency in the United States. 2 days after that, the CDC recommends social distancing. So what is today? Today is the 21st. So that was 6-7 days ago that the CDC said, hey, we need to stop gathering and together. All right. So 2 days later.
That was the national suggestion. Yep, good.
So 2 days later, France imposes the first nationwide lockdown. Okay. And Europe bars travel. And United States bars travel.
Barred some travel for sure.
Yeah.
I think he had blocked travel in a lot of places. I mean, he did that well before the national emergency.
On the 11th. He blocked travel.
I mean, you had some politicians that were getting mad at him for blocking travel, actually.
Right.
I don't know that they would say that today, but at the time, before it became, this big thing it is now, they were, the whole racist side of thing, or racial or xenophobic, whatever thing was being thrown out and about. But he certainly did block travel.
That was
I think it was prudent, definitely prudent to do that.
Yeah, that was on.
Whoever the president was.
Yeah, he blocked travel on March 11th. 2 days later, he declares a national emergency. France locks down, like I said, on the 17th. And that brings us to March 19th. And for the first time, China reports 0 local infections. So here we are, almost 3 months. Yeah. So almost three months in, China is now reporting no new cases. So if you go by the timeline, so we're looking at anywhere from a 2 to 3 month period before you can realistically think, we've got this under control. We've made enough what's the word I'm looking for? Enough advances in our methodology to combat this and report no new cases. So if we go by our timeline in America, since we've just gone into social distancing about 6-7 days ago, then we're looking at anywhere from another 2 to 3 months, which puts us in the May, June. All right. Now this is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. Okay. So now we're looking at, theoretically, because we don't know what's going to happen one day to the next, but theoretically, we're looking at this affecting us at least until possibly July, August, before we could expect some sort of normalcy back in our American lives. And obviously, then we're talking, that's 8 months from the original report of the virus. And I mean, I'm not a doomsayer. I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. But come August, we could be in a full-blown depression, economically and mentally.
Talking about China again here. I don't know. Did they lock down every province of every part of China? Did they do social distancing all
Yes,
over the
yes.
giant nation?
Yes, China went into a complete lockdown. They, as far as a complete quarantine, that's the way I guess what I should use. They went into a complete
Was it that region, or
quarantine.
was it the whole? Was it
That
the whole?
that region, they put they totally closed off Wuhan, full quarantine,
Right, right,
January 23rd.
right, right.
Obviously, so
Yeah.
that so you got to cut
Yeah,
the
I
head
don't
off the
know that.
snake.
I don't know that China's entire economic engine completely stopped, because I don't think they did. I don't think they shut down every part of China. I mean, there's parts of China that are nowhere near that area and had no cases.
Right. It did.
All intents and purposes, why would you even bother doing anything in that area when it's all here? What you do is you close people traveling from this place from going to there.
Okay.
And you
So
say, people that. Yeah, go ahead.
okay, because once again, going back to China a little bit, once again pushing back into the timeline, they locked down Wuhan January 11th. Okay, February 17th, they said no more. No, they drafted legislation to stop the practice of eating wildlife. So here it
That's
is.
great.
Yeah, and that is where they start to see their turnaround. So about 30 days after they locked down Wuhan, they start to see a turnaround. Okay.
Started dropping, right.
Yeah.
Well,
So
people are getting better.
yeah,
They walled off the infection, and folks are either dying or they're getting better.
exactly.
And honestly, I don't know how many people died. I don't know how many people, they may not have been handling things there like we would here either, as far
Right.
as sick either. I don't really know. But yeah, so yeah, you got folks that had it. They spread it where it's going to spread, and then 14 days after that, everybody's better, or they're dead, and there's no new people coming in, and they're not going out. So yeah, you would think that would run its course if that's the duration of this thing. That
Right.
makes sense.
Right. So let's bring.
I mean, us going into August is a long time, man.
My prediction.
That's really what I want to talk about, really more than anything tonight. Is I don't see most Americans doing what we're doing this last 10 days. Some of us been at it longer than 6 days. I feel like by the end of next week, it's really going to start sinking in for some folks, and that's only like 2 weeks, really. So saying this is even going into May, I think is I don't know that America is going to do that. I really don't believe it. And it seems to me that shutting down the entire state of Kansas because there's a lot of outbreaks in Seattle, let's say, and we should talk about who really had it, who died, and why. And this stuff matters, and it should dictate what the policy is. I mean, you shouldn't have a governor just indiscriminately shutting down an entire state of California because the Bay Area has a lot of stuff going on, and most of the cases were homeless that were dying and whatnot.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up.
About that. You see what I'm saying?
I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up because obviously California and New York, the two most populous states, in our country. Okay. Obviously, the governor of California shut down California, obviously, because their cases are far outnumber anyone else's. New York is catching up as we speak. Okay, so I think personally, it makes sense seeing what's going on basically across the from one ocean to the next. Seeing what's going on, it's inevitable that if you don't shut down everything and everybody, that eventually you will have cases in freaking Idaho. You know what I mean? So
I don't know. Hear me out then, okay?
Go ahead.
It seems to me like I'm always like a fan of the government, especially if they're going to be involved with something. But just in general, if you have a job to do, that you focus on the problem and you focus on where it is, what's causing it, and then you tailor your solution to that problem. Now, obviously, we're talking about a virus, which, if you can't see that you have it and you walk out of New York and you go to Idaho, then, yeah, clearly you can share that with other people. But it seems to me if you're going to contain the outbreak and get people back to work, because right now you got two different problems going on. and they're both terrible. And one of them, I think, is going to overshadow the other way more. What you have right now is an outbreak of a virus. I don't know that it's polio level. Okay, it could be bad, but it's not like something like polio or bubonic plague, where you had a massive amounts of people dying from it of all age groups. But it is a virus. I don't want to minimize it, and it's novel. It's something that we've never seen before. But you also have an economic crisis coming on, which is coming on even faster than this virus. I mean, I think that you're going to see that this is jobless numbers, businesses that are going bankrupt. I don't know if people want to equate that to lives, but it does ruin lives. It ruins people's lives when you lose your job, when you lose your business. I don't, it's not killing you, granted, but I think there's going to be a whole lot of pain and suffering from the economic impact of this. So I think it matters how we handle this tremendously. I mean, I don't know if you can still hear me if I'm still coming through, but
I can hear you.
You want to contain the outbreak, but you also want to get people back to work sooner rather than later. Is what I'm trying to get down, because I think some of these other countries, like Singapore, South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, they are bending that curve and they're still working. They found a way to do it with less economic pain, and I think the reason is because they're basically going to where the virus is. They're containing it there. They're not shutting down Kansas, for instance, by to stop the spread from Seattle. That's a weird way of saying it, but even parts of California are so far from the urban centers. There's nothing going on there. Yes, somebody could potentially leave and go to that spot, but I don't think it's going to be like this massive outbreak. And these other nations are proving it to me. But anyway, I think, what was it, the state of Washington that had it first, Seattle, because most of the flights come in from China from there to there. It's like the major hub. Same thing, New York gets a lot of traffic in, California, Atlanta.
Okay, all right. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Let me go back to the geography thing and listen to me.
Okay.
Most of the outbreaks are in the urban centers.
Right.
And for a while, and even now, really, if you look, it's pronounced in a few parts of the country. And it's going to depend on like governors and local officials to handle it. But I don't think every part of the country needs to be shut down. I just don't believe it, and I don't believe it's helping anything to do that. I do believe it helps to shut down parts that need it. I mean, I'm pulling up this in front of me here. New York, Washington, and California had 60% of the fatalities so far. Just those three states. And even then, the deaths were just in certain spots in those states. I mean, I think the resources and the balance of quarantining people and versus the economic activity should be something we should be thinking about. Like half or maybe more of the Washington state cases were in one county, King County, Seattle area. And then the two neighboring counties, if you factor them in, that was 85% of the deaths. They were all in that area. And almost half of those were in one nursing home. So you're talking about the deaths all being in Metro and Seattle in Washington. So I mean, if you're worried about people dying, then we just have to look at that. I mean, I don't think that parts of Seattle is a big place, man. And wait, no, Tuesday, 50% of the New York cases were in New York City, almost all of them in Metro. And they had that one anonymous outbreak in Westchester County, but that's pretty much it. California, the numbers are driven by the homeless population, and most of the San Francisco cases were the homeless. I'm not saying that other Americans aren't getting it. And then we're finding out that the deaths are occurring mostly in people 80 and up. So it seems like I do think we need to be doing something. I do think that I'm even willing to do what we're doing now for a short time. But I think this is going to be painful at some point. And throwing more government money at it and doing some of the things we're doing, I think is actually not targeting where and it would be better if we were addressing it where it's at and walling it off where it's at rather than shutting down. For the governor of California to just say, hey, I'm shutting everything down over the whole state. That's a big place, man. And, man, you're talking about a lot of destruction economically. I don't know. It just seems to me it's somewhat draconian. draconian, if you ask me. I mean, now some places have really done that, other places in the world.
Okay, let's look.
So what have you got about South Korea in all your information?
South Korea, really looking through this timeline, there's not a whole lot
Yeah.
about South
I'm looking
Korea.
at it here. It looks like they went into crisis mode about February 20, and then
Okay.
they began bending the numbers in March.
Okay.
So, but the difference between them, once again, is they basically tested everyone as soon as possible, which they were able to do that. Identified who had it, even the false positives, wall off the people who have it, and the rest of the people just went on about their day and went to work.
But you got to
They
keep.
just shut the entire nation down and crush their entire economy.
But once again,
I'm not saying that we could. Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, but you got to keep in mind, South Korea is not America. Okay, we operate on a different lane here in America.
Sure.
Okay, because once again, free. Once again, this is the freest nation on the planet. Sometimes that freedom comes back to bite you because, like you said, hey, damn it, I'm going to the beach. I don't care what you say. It's not going to happen to me. That's the attitude that we have. That's why I'm saying you got to use your authority to lock everything and everybody down because when that little old lady in Kansas finally dies, then it's too late. Once again, we're just so reactive instead of being proactive because we don't want to give up the things that we're so used to because once again that takes us back to our arrogance. Damn it, I'm used to going to the movies. I want to go to the movies. I want to go to the concert. I want to go and see a basketball game. I want to do A, B, and C. How dare you make me stay home? I'm not going to stay home.
I do think this debate that I'm having with you right now needs to be made, though, because saving that little lady in Kansas, I think we all want to do that. But if it's at the cost of 17 families losing their jobs and some guy blows his brains out because he's lost everything, I mean, there's going to be some fallout from this that has nothing to do with the virus. And it's going to be with people that aren't affected by the virus directly at all. In fact, I don't think most Americans are going to be affected directly by this virus at all.
But there's another.
Get it way down the line.
But there's
we are going to be affected by this economic downturn. And whether or not it needed to happen or not is what I'm debating.
But there's another strain to this, man, that we got to discuss as well. And that strain is once again from an economic standpoint is litigation. A lot of this distancing and locking down has to do with us being a very litigious nation. Okay, because corporate America, they're not going to risk. We let everybody stay here at work, and 50 people here die. Then that's 50 lawsuits we got to defend. That's money.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and but the way I look at this, and it's two different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like Pennsylvania, there was one death in the whole state,
Mm-hmm.
and again, it was in a metro area.
Mm-hmm.
The governor there decided to basically do what California is, shutting the entire state down. Now, Pennsylvania, I haven't looked at the numbers lately. That was whenever he did it, whatever day it was. It was earlier this week. I mean, one of the places that had the fewest of anything going on. So that guy makes that decision. You're right. Then everybody in that state is suddenly thrust into a situation where if they stay open, that governor did that. So now it's on me. I'm going to have to decide what to do. Do I lose my entire business, or do I risk people working here and then they're going to sue me?
Exactly.
I don't know that the virus.
It's a catch-22, man.
The governor put them in that situation because the virus hasn't been affecting most people in Pennsylvania in any kind of way at all. You see what I'm saying? They're not having a health emergency there. They're not having any kind of emergency. But this guy is created. This is creating the craze. This is creating the panic.
Okay.
They're making a panic and a craziness right now out of what really isn't yet.
Okay, Mike. Okay. You live in Middle Georgia. Okay. One of the biggest employers in Middle Georgia is Geico. I used to work at Geico. All right.
Yep.
My ex-wife works at Geico still. Okay. And she's working from home. They're making everybody work from home. And I'm sure a big part of that is that Geico's owned by Berkshire Hathaway, which is Warren Buffett. Okay? And I'm sure a big part of that, I'm sure it came down from on high, lock it down, send everybody home because we keep everybody here working. And this thing makes its way into our company and it passes throughout the making office. And Once again, 50, 60 people get it, and of those 50, 60 people that get it, 2 or 3 of them died, then we're going to have to pay out a lot of fucking money. Okay? And I will much rather send everybody home, lay people off, pay unemployment or whatever, versus the ramifications of someone dying on our watch and us not doing enough to protect them and then getting our pants sued off of us. I'm sure that's a huge part of it. Now let me finish. I'm a small guy. Okay? All right. Once again, I run a small insurance agency. Okay? I send everybody home, and I ain't nobody. Okay? So I know. Once again, from a business standpoint, that's why the NBA shut down. Major League Baseball, all these entities, these major entities, Delta laid off hundreds and hundreds of people. Okay? That is the true epicenter of this virus or this emergency, man. Is that us as a nation being a capitalistic nation, being what we are, okay, you have to take that into consideration. And for the greater good of the longevity of your company or your business or your ability to make money, you have to do that. Otherwise, you'll be bankrupt no matter what.
And how long are you going to be open without working? Let me just go there. Since you personally brought out your own thing.
I'm working.
Like you laid off your people.
No. See, I didn't lay them off, and they're getting paid. Go home for a week. Okay. And I will put measures in place, and I will bring you back. So I brought everybody back, and now we're distancing ourselves, and we're not letting any customers into the office. Okay, we'll go to the door, and we're distancing ourselves in the office.
Maybe down the street does it.
What?
The other, I said you have that ability, but other places may not.
No.
I mean, what are you going to do if the governor of Georgia says, hey, no offices, nobody at work, nobody, nothing. You have to do everything either from home or you're shut down. So the guy that does construction work or the guy that does, whatever, millions of jobs where they have to actually physically go to a place.
Yeah.
I mean, service jobs, things of that nature are done.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you might be able to weather it till July, but I'm telling you right now, that ain't going to happen for a lot of people. And I don't care if the NBA shut down. I care about my job. I care about my family. The NBA decides to do that, great. If they can weather it, great. They probably have the money to do that. Some of these people are gazillionaires. Not everybody can weather this, is what I'm trying to get at. I mean, Pennsylvania is shutting everything down. It doesn't make sense to be some rural county has no cases. Most of the state has no cases. But yet they still have flights coming in from Seattle in the major metropolitan areas. Explain that to me. That makes no sense at all. There needs, what I'm trying to get at, it needs to be tailored to reality and to what makes sense, common sense. Because, I mean, the threat of something is always going to be there. With that thought, we can't let a single person come from China ever again if we're worried about an infection all the time. What I'm saying is, it seems to me that you should tailor the response and what you're going to do based on where the problem is and how big of a risk that problem is. Some rural county in Pennsylvania doesn't need to shut down every damn thing, in my opinion. It's just not as big of a risk. It just isn't, as opposed to certain other places. And it seems dumb to do that when you're still having flights coming in from Seattle. Somebody could be a carrier and then just blow it all over again. I don't know what we're going to do when we come off of this thing either, because you're still going to have people that have it. So it seems to me they either better be thinking about short-term doing something, or if this is going to be long-term, then the United States as we know it is going to be way different coming out the other end of this. And that's scary to me. I'm more scared of that than anything. And economically, I don't see, I mean, if your job depended on you going in and all your coworkers and people that are working for you had to be in an office somewhere, and all of a sudden you're told by the governor that you guys can't do that anymore, I'm not sure how long you're going to last. I mean, you tell me it's going to be August. There's no way you can still have a business in August, man.
Well,
no matter what checks they're writing to you.
In my line of work, obviously insurance, that's one of the benefits of being in insurance. We can work.
I program online, so I'm safe right now until the internet goes out or some big thing like that goes on. So we're talking right now through cellular, and we're blessed to have the ability to still talk and maybe even do things that make us some money in the time like this. But I still rely on people to have the income to buy my service. If they are people that would normally pay for what I'm selling don't have any money, then I'm not going to be selling jack. I'm going to be having all the time in the world and ability to work, but nobody's buying what I'm selling because they don't have any. If you don't think the economy will affect you eventually, it will affect you eventually. If it's tanking, I mean, it's going to affect you. Whether you get the virus or not, you will be affected by this economy. And I just think some of the decisions, the way they're handing out these checks and whatnot, I don't think that's going to do jack, man. I think they need to be focusing on containing this virus, where it's at, and finding out what they need to do to have in place for the inevitable outbreaks that are still going to happen. There's going to be some people that are going to have to be hospitalized, and whether we have enough, whatever we're going to have, whether we have enough medication or enough beds, and enough doctors, enough people. I got a letter today saying I might be asked to assist because I have a dental background,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm willing to go help if they need me if it gets to that point. But the fact that I'm getting letters like that doesn't make me feel more safe, man. And I don't know.
I mean,
what I'm seeing that scares me the most is people reacting, and these governors are going from targeted stuff to just shut the entire state down. Because you know what? It's easy to do that. It's easy to just say, hey, man, I'm going to do this. I'm going to shut this whole thing down, and if things go wrong, I don't know what more extreme I could have been. I can always say, well, imagine how much worse it would have been if we didn't shut it down. I mean, you always have an out now politically.
Okay, now that takes me to the next subject. Okay, that takes me to the next subject. Okay, all right. Obviously, this is United States of America. Okay, one of the richest nations on the planet. We got money to burn. Okay, and now we're in a position where we can actually take that money and do something positive with it. Okay, I think and hear me out on this. Like you said before, now the issuing of checks to everybody on a one-time check is useless, absolutely positively useless, because that money is going to be gone in less than 2 hours. It'll be gone. Then you're left saying, okay, what happens next month if we're still in this position? Okay, and I posted this online on my Facebook, and I'm gonna reiterate it here. Once again, it's just just a thought of mine. I haven't done any research into the viability of it or anything like that. It's just an idea. Okay.
Hey man, common sense don't need research. So if you got a common sense idea or something, man,
if it was me,
that's all that matters.
If it was me, okay, if it was me, this is what I would do. Okay, if I was president or whatever, this is what I would do. I would set aside X amount of dollars, $1 trillion, or whatever it is that we need to set aside. All right, and I will set up a mechanism where each family that needs it, that qualifies for it, that has this immediate need, because everybody doesn't have an immediate need. Okay, this is for the immediate need, that an account be set up for those families to pay for their expenses, be it electricity, the essential necessities in life. Okay,
right.
So say for example, hypothetically, this program is set up. It'll be a website or whatever. Okay, and say I'll use myself as an example. Okay, I have an account. All right, and my light bill is due. Georgia Power can take my Social Security number, punch it in, and the funds be released directly to Georgia Power to pay my light bill. The money doesn't come to me to where I can go out and buy lottery tickets, a beer, or whatever.
Right, blow it. Right, there's so much graft that can go on. For that
Exactly. So a dedicated agency be set up to where your essentials, not cable bill, things of that nature. The essential things you need to survive, water, things of that nature, are being taken care of for you with a small subsidy, for incidentals, cash incidentals. Okay? And this be set up for a period of 90 days. Since we see that China, it took about 90 days before they kind of got this thing somewhat under control. Set it up for 90 days. All right? That way Americans aren't out there. There's not anarchy. We're not out there, breaking into houses and all this kind of stuff, scrounging for necessities, trying to survive and take care of our families, and falling back into the Middle Ages. Okay? There can be a mechanism set up to where, those necessities that we need, like toilet paper and sanitizer, things of that nature, are are delivered. Okay, once again, this can create some jobs delivered to the cities, and the families are able to get packages of the bare essentials that they need. Okay, that way there's still a level of control. The economy is obviously is not going to rebound, but at least it'll stabilize a little bit because money is moving, and the essentials that people need to survive are being met during this crisis. No evictions, no repossessions, no foreclosures. Everything is frozen. No student loans due. Anything that could possibly detract from your quality of life during this 90-day period will be there will be a moratorium on it. Okay, that way, everybody to some extent is accommodated. There's not a foolproof plan. You're not gonna take care of everybody, but at least a great cross section of America who truly needs these mechanisms in place will have something to somewhat hold themselves down until this crisis passes. Okay, all right, I'm off my soapbox.
Well, it makes more sense than just indiscriminately sending money to whatever. Pulling up tax returns from people from 2 years ago and saying, you get a check, you don't get a check. You get a check, you get this much check. You have this, you get that. And then, like, 2 years ago, I might have made $1 million. I might be dead broke this year. I mean, what about the business owners? I mean, they may have made more than $100,000. I think they're saying that the cutoff is $100,000. If you make more than that, you get nothing. Or maybe it's like per person. So if there's a wife and a husband make more than 200, then you get nothing. But then again, they minimize the amount you get. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I have a pretty good life, so I don't even need the money right now. So I mean, the money that would be sent to me would be better spent someone else. But even if they sent me $2,000, it wouldn't even cover my mortgage. You know what I mean? So it's like, if it's for just essentials and you're going to freeze my mortgage, then yeah, I mean, it makes sense. But I don't even think they're even doing it that way. And how long is that going to go on? I just don't see how you can't, the government can't bail out an entire economy. It just can't. It doesn't work that way. It's the reverse. It's the economy and the taxpayer that funds the government.
Only for 90 days, man. I didn't say to rebuild the economy for 90 days.
Yeah, every day that you generate $1, the government takes from 25% to 40% of that. So even if it's just for 10 days, you can't possibly expect the government to fund the economy for. Yeah, I agree. No, I'm not even saying your plan's is bad. What I'm saying to you is that it actually makes more sense to have some thought. Rather than like the governor is saying, I'm shutting down everything. I'm closing it all. Well, maybe that's not the best way to handle your state, buddy. Maybe you need to think about it a little bit more carefully and decide where to shut down and how long and what. I don't think we've even been told. You're saying this could go to August. Has anybody said how long it is going to be? I mean, there's really the uncertainty of this is what's killing the stock market. The fact that everybody's shut down, the economy's crushing.
No,
there's no certainty.
What I've heard.
There's no.
Well, what I've heard and seen is that it could take up to August before a return to normalcy. Not that it'll probably be over before then, but return to our normal way of life. They're saying probably around August. So once again, if you look at the timeline, that puts us into June, July, when it finally subsides and we're able to start, stick our heads out again and kind of start getting back to life. Okay.
All right. So let's say a plant in Pennsylvania creates some liquid that goes into the wipes. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And the governor has just now shut down everything that in Pennsylvania. It may not even be the wipes themselves. It's just the chemical that goes in there that it goes with the wipes that makes it a antibacterial, antiviral wipes or whatever. Because those things are sold out. I mean, these places and then they're needed. Alcohol is needed. Maybe it's some kind of plastic that goes into the devices that are in the masks of the surgical masks. So you see what I'm saying? You're just indiscriminately shutting down an entire economy in a state. And like I'm reading this article here about these truckers are going through some of these states. And you remember I mentioned Pennsylvania earlier, and this one guy was like, they shut down all the rest stops. where the truckers sleep, including the clothes, including the bathrooms. 13 rest stops have been reopened because the president ordered it. But truckers are being forced to use porta-johns outside. There's nowhere to sleep. Restaurants are closing their dining rooms. We don't even have ability to eat in our trucks. We can't even go through the drive-thrus with a truck. How do you do that? How are we supposed to eat while we're killing ourselves to bring toilet paper and fresh produce to the rest of the world? Some companies are not even working anymore. We're driving there, and there's nothing to put in the truck. You see, you're making assumptions that you're giving people money, and they're going to have a product to buy. The economy shuts down. There's nothing to buy. There's no service.
Well, once again,
there's no toilet paper.
But once again, they're saying
August, my friend.
But what they're saying,
going to August.
but they're saying that essential services will be reactivated. You know, like so you can have,
essential?
huh?
I guess the trucker is essential, isn't he?
Yeah. They're saying that you know the essential services will be reactivated, so you can have food distribution. You can have the distribution
I think it's the private sector that's going to do the most for this virus, not the government. And if the private sector's getting crushed, then you're going to have a hard time handling this as a government. You're telling people to go home and sit, and then expecting stuff to be on the shelves and services to be available. I just don't see how physicians and doctors and whatnot are going to be able to continue on. They have lives and families at home too. They have to eat and whatnot. They just don't go in indefinitely. I mean, we start rationing the food to the people that matter the most. I mean, this is where we're headed, bro, and I don't think it can happen. I just don't see this going to August, man, with the average American. That might be one of the things that makes us arrogant, and we're also a little different about how we look at our own freedoms. I just think, I don't see this going on that long. I don't think the economy can take it for sure.
No,
they're like, I'm not affected by this virus. Screw it. I'm going to go and do this or that.
No, the economy. Yeah, the economy absolutely.
I'm not saying that me personally. I'm just saying there may be Americans who have that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
and I think they're coming from a real place, a real place of where they're suffering in a different way. They're not suffering for the virus.
But once again, man, I'm talking about the people who you have an actual, real, tangible need. Like you said, you're in a position where you're okay. I'm in a position where I'm okay. I know if they can start cutting checks or whatever, I'm not getting one. My wife's not getting one. My family's not getting any checks.
And I'm personally okay with that. I'm not looking at
okay with it.
So why don't I get any? I don't. That's not how I work.
No, I don't. I don't care either. Well, I care, but once again,
it's all money that we don't have anyway at this point because we're not putting anything in the system hardly right now. So
because
it's all deficit money. I mean, it's just money that none of us really have. So I don't want to be adding to it by getting somebody paying me, just running up the debt. But go ahead, I apologize. I tend to cut you off.
No, it's okay. It's okay because one of the things I say to my wife or whatever is like, if we ever get into a position where $1,000 or $1,500 makes a difference in our day-to-day life, then something's really wrong. Okay, and then we have a whole much bigger problem than what's going on out here in this world. If $1,500 is going to make or break us. Okay, but unfortunately, a lot of folks, $1,500, $1,000, whatever, does make a huge difference.
It does, okay? And I don't ever overthink that. You're right, man.
And the thing is,
There's
man,
folks that are living day to day, really. If they don't get that check on Friday, it's bad.
Yeah, hand them out. Absolutely, hand them out. And once again, in the industry I work in, I deal with it every day because, man, since this happened, man, I've been getting calls from all my clients saying, hey, I can't pay my bill. What's going to happen to me? I got to have my car insurance, but I can't afford to pay it. And so that's a question I got to answer. And I mean, I got to try to be diplomatic about it. So I understand that there's a segment of our society, man, where if they cut one check, it's gonna create an instant dependency. Okay, an instant dependency that come the month after that, if that dependency is not met, then you're gonna see a precipitous downward spiral into anarchy, into crime, into increased crime or whatever. It can happen just that fast, man. So don't, if you're cutting checks or whatever, if you're cutting checks, I think that's the worst thing you can possibly do because it's gonna create more problems than it solves if it's just one check. If you're cutting checks, cut checks for 3 damn months. Okay? Ride it out.
Than that. I think that's my fear. The government, this worked here, and we used it in that situation. So then they roll this thing out, or it becomes this permanent thing that people can rely on that all the time. In other words, what was a crisis and put in place during the crisis becomes the permanent. That's not good. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, and I think the bill that discusses these checks and whatnot also was, I don't even know it. Maybe it got passed. They were trying to put a provision in there where business owners have to provide 14 sick days, 2 full weeks, mandated, and fully paid like you were there. I mean, if you're trying to people to use that right now, the businesses aren't even open. They're not generating any income. I don't know where all this money's going to come from. Just because you mandate it doesn't mean I have it can pay it. And it's insane. Another thing I heard, and you can look this up. This is not really. I don't think Bernie Sanders is going to be the candidate at this point. So I feel confident talking about him in this way. But he actually made the statement that he felt like if the government was bailing out or sending money to these businesses, that the government should then be part owner of these businesses. And stop and think about that. They're telling you to shut your business down, and because they told you that, and you are going under, and they will then bail you out, and then they want part of your business. I don't think anybody who's a business owner is in agreement with that.
No, hell no.
That's insanity.
No.
But he actually said that.
No.
He said that and meant it. So, but this is the kind of thing that starts coming up, just crap like that, man. I think right now most Americans are voluntarily doing what they're told. And they do believe in, the social distancing, and we get an idea of trying to flatten the curve and whatnot. But I do think that this is, sooner rather than later, is going to wane. And there's no way, if people are not paying their premiums to you, that you're going to feel good about this in August, man. I don't know how in the world you stay open or keep paying your bills or whatever if you're used to getting X amount of dollars a month from people paying their premiums. At some point, somebody has a wreck in their car, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to need somebody to pay for that.
Yeah.
Well, if the entire pool of money, wherever people's pooling that money, and they okay, it's time to write me my check, and you're like, well, there is no money. You guys didn't pay into the pool, so there's no pool of money. So you're just going to have to sit with your car broken. You get what I'm saying? It just doesn't work. Everything breaks down. The whole thing breaks down.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again,
the guy in Pennsylvania is telling the whole state to shut down when there's almost no cases there, rather than focusing on where the cases are, shutting it down there, or blocking whatever will be coming in from neighboring states. And so it just sets up things that probably you haven't thought about, like the plant that does this is in this county, and the trucker that picks up that is going through that county. And this happened to me. If every governor does this, just like they tend to do all like dominoes, then you've got a whole nation that's not doing anything, producing anything, and then we're supposed to be somehow restocking our shelves and restocking the things that we need. I don't see how that works. I don't see how that happens. And when you say something is essential, what does that mean? In my mind, I get what that means.
I think
apparently the plants in Pennsylvania aren't essential because he just shut them down. You see?
Yeah, I get it, man.
There's parts of California that aren't affected at all. That you're shutting down that entire county. Some big ass counties in California that have no cases, nothing's gotten there. I don't know. I don't know if we're overreacting or underreacting. It's just worth debating. That's what I'm doing. I'm debating with you. I'm not even saying that I'm right and you're wrong or they're wrong. And I certainly am not the president of the United States. I certainly am not a governor. But obviously these are big decisions and whatnot. But it doesn't seem to me logical or focused. Some of these things could be more common sense than what it seems to be. And I agree with you. I do disagree with them on these payouts and the way they're handling that. And at least we both agree on that. Now, somebody who needs that check is just happy to get the check. They don't care how it happened, where it happened, what happens down the line. They just don't want to lose their home or they need to feed the kids. Man, I get it. I certainly get it. I feel blessed that I'm not, at least right now, I'm not dealing with that. Yeah. I don't think you and I are going to be immune to this, though, after a couple months. It's going to be affecting us in ways that probably haven't thought about.
No, the war. Anyway, right now, right now the war chest is full. But 3 months from now, the war chest is not going to be full. I know that. You know what I mean? So I'm definitely aware of that. But once again, and that takes us into the next layer of this whole controversy or whatever, this whole situation, and we got to talk about the elephant in the room, and it starts at the top.
What's that?
Huh?
Yeah,
What?
go ahead.
And once again,
No, I
yeah,
heard you. Go ahead.
yeah, and that's the president. That's the president. Okay. I can go on for days. I really don't talk much about him on my show for obvious reasons.
Yeah, sure.
Because I just know there's not enough breath in my body to go in on him. So I'm gonna measure myself. All right. I'm
Sure.
gonna measure myself and just give my opinion and let you run with it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. First of all, I think um, this whole crisis has been mismanaged from day one, and that falls at his feet because he's the leader of the free world. Everybody, whether we like it or not, everybody on this planet looks to him first. Okay, then that is what comes with being in that position. And the way that it's been handled has been ham-fisted from the very beginning, from the point of playing it down, calling it a hoax, not taking it as seriously as we thought it should have been taken seriously when it first happened. The constant battling with the media, with passing the buck, blaming Obama, not being accountable, saying himself, "I'm not accountable." Now, once again, I'm just giving my opinion here, and I'm trying not to base it so much on my hatred for Trump, but so much on just my opinion as a human being and as a leader of my family and a leader in business. You know, uh, in my opinion, all right, whether you're accountable, truly accountable or not, when you are a leader, the preeminent leader on the face of the world, face of the planet, you have got to take accountability for it. Even if it's not your fault, you have to say, "Hey, I got this. Okay, I'm the president of the United States. Don't worry, get on my back. I got this. We're gonna be proactive. We're gonna take care of this shit. We're gonna make sure that we're attacking this virus. We're not waiting for things to happen. We're gonna make shit happen. We're gonna do X, Y, and Z. I'm gonna place X, Y, and Z in place to take care of this. I'm gonna be accountable for it. There'll be daily updates. We're gonna come together as a nation. We're gonna come together as a party. There is not gonna be a Republican or a Democrat during this crisis. We're all gonna come together. We're gonna hunker down. We're gonna put all these minds in a room, and we're gonna make this shit work for America. And I'm gonna be the first person to take responsibility for it. If something bad happens, I'll be the first person to say it's on me. If something good happens, I'll be the first person to say everybody else did a great job, and I appreciate everything that everybody did. I'm gonna be on TV with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, all the Democratic heavy hitters, side by fucking side, okay, and saying, "Hey, we're gonna put everything aside for this moment until we get America back on its feet, because that is what we do as fucking Americans. We're not gonna keep fucking fighting each other, okay, during this crisis. We're gonna come together, put all this bullshit aside, and we're gonna take care of each other. Now, once we're back on our feet, we'll put the gloves back on. We'll start fighting again." But no, he's not gonna do that. And all it's doing is just creating a greater and greater divide among Americans, because as you well know, we got the right and we got the left, and the gap between us is so fucking wide. You can squeeze the fucking Death Star into it. It's so freaking wide, and it's getting wider and wider. And this is the one time in American history where one dude needs to stand the fuck up, man up, put everything aside, and say, "Hey, I got this. You don't have to like me. I don't have to like you, but we got this. I got this. I'm going to lead you and show you how this shit is done," because that is what a leader does. A leader takes responsibility even when he's not responsible. A leader leads by example, and he gives the credit to where it's due, and he doesn't take it. He doesn't take it upon himself. He stands up, and he makes himself the first person to fall on the sword if need be, and the last person to step off the field when the battle is over. That's what a true leader does, and we're not getting that. And I pray with every ounce of my fucking body, I pray that come November, we remember this shit, and this is the icing on the cake, and get his ass the fuck out. Go.
All right. Well, hey, man, I think you needed to do that. I think you've been holding back for a little while, and you needed
Damn straight.
to do that. Now, this is your show, so you have the power to let me talk or not, or
No, do your thing, man. Go ahead.
whatever.
Do your thing. The floor is
I'll
yours.
Make sure I let
Go ahead, man.
Um, I don't think Trump created this big wedge that's been in politics. It's been there a long time. I think he's just a product of it. And definitely, I personally think that one of the few people who could actually survive as a Republican in this atmosphere, because I think most Republicans either usually get beat down by what I would call Big Washington. He just doesn't take no shit, man. And I don't think a lot of people in Washington, and including the other party, are used to somebody who's willing to give them the finger back. So my view on Trump is that, as a candidate, is that his flaws and all this stuff that went. I think most of these things, most of these people didn't care about whenever he wasn't the president or wasn't running for president or didn't win president. But now that he is there, suddenly these people that took pictures with him and did all kinds of things with him, they suddenly hate him. But I want to focus mainly on the virus here. When you have a presidency like his, where you went through the whole Russian collusion thing, you went through the the Ukraine thing, and all this and that. There's a point where he's just had enough of it. And I don't think that you could say the last 3 months that it's only been Trump being political, or at least reacting politically or harshly. I mean, he's been attacked pretty hard from the other side, and the media is not his friend. Not at all. I don't know of even just the other day when they had him on there. I mean, he's had enough of them. So he's just basically calling them out and putting the finger right back in their face. I do agree with you that there's no place for this political bullshit right now. You got actual something going on. The economy is getting crushed right now. People don't know what the hell to do. They're buying out everything in the stores. I'm fully with you on Trump not being political and just let's turn our attention on getting something done. But I don't think you're being fair when you say that the other side isn't doing the same thing. I mean, this is all a big political gun. If you don't think they're going to put that post by Trump or whatever it was, where he said, "Oh, it's not a big deal. You know, we're going to do fine. Don't worry about it," in a zillion commercials between now and November, then you're just wrong. And maybe he deserves it. But the other side of this is just as, I mean, I look at Schumer and Pelosi just as detestably as you apparently look at Trump. These people I think they put party before country. I really do. I do at least think that Trump loves America. I do believe that, and I believe you love America. So I don't think that Trump is doing this politically, but I do think that he acts politically or thin-skinnedly about the way he answers things. But the last 3 years have been pretty shitty for that guy. It's been one thing after the next. I can't imagine meeting the president and dealing with this right after all the other stuff he's gone through the last few things. And maybe you think he deserved that, fine, whatever. But I'm totally on board with you when you say, hey, well, there's no place for this crap right now. And I will say this, Americans will decide in November what they think of Trump and how he dealt with this, how he's been president. This could be one of those things that maybe he would have got reelected very easily, and now he's going through this virus thing, and it could completely destroy whatever presidential aspirations he had. I look at his opponent, Joe Biden, and I have to wonder if that guy is really all there, if he would be the one that would actually be able to handle something like this better than our president. I don't think it's the president doing everything in these types of situations either. It really matters his policy and whatnot. But that thing that got passed the other day, he just signed it. I mean, he didn't forge that. I don't think he was even in the debates. And I certainly don't agree with that bill. But President Trump did sign that bill. So it's one of those things where I don't always agree with him. But I don't have this visceral hate for him. But I understand it because I have that visceral hate for members of the other party sometimes. I think that Obama would be doing a better job than Biden would be doing. Let me just go there, though. I'm not sure. This election is pretty scary in a lot of ways for me coming up. But in the end, I'm one vote, man. and there's a lot of time between now and November. We'll just have to see what happens. I'm a little worried about the economy more than anything. It would help if the press would focus on actual reporting and, real stuff rather than going off the tangent. It's almost like gotcha stuff all the time. And frankly, I don't even watch any of that stuff anymore because it's a show, man. They're there for themselves. And I would rather it be reporting on actual information. You and I have to go and dig for this stuff ourselves to get to the information we need rather than hearing it on the news because everything's so slanted or politically biased. But I'm talking about right-wing news and left-wing news. It just drives me nuts, man. I just want to know the facts. I just want to know what's going on, man. And we're not always getting it. And I'm not a big fan of the leadership of the Republican Party, even though I'm a Republican conservative. That's my principles. It's the only party that even remotely ties into what I believe politically, what my belief systems are. It really is the only party to me that resembles the beliefs that were in the Constitution. So, I get where you're coming from. I believe that you believe what you believe, and you're definitely going to vote like you believe and whatnot. But if you're willing to be hoping that whoever's in charge right now can handle this thing the right way and it not be a political mess, then I'm on board with you 100%, man. When I say political mess, they're focusing on doing their job and not getting reelected. Because I think much of what's going on right now is more about handing out money and getting reelected and just putting the problem, kicking the can, like you said, and trying to get it off their shoulders. They don't want the weight of this thing on their shoulders. But unfortunately, the president's going to have the weight on his shoulders. He can't. It's one of these things you can't duck away from. You're going to have to give out speeches. I would not want to be the president, whether it's Biden or Trump right now, having to deal with this. It's very, very difficult. And so I do think it would be better if people got more American with American holding hands trying to work through this thing. What I don't like is just throwing things together because you're panicking and just handing out checks and creating more big government and shutting down everything indiscriminately without really some logic behind it. And if this is what our administration is going to do, and we end up having a really bad meltdown, and Trump doesn't get reelected, that's on him, man. That's on him. That's on him. That's Americans reacting to what happened.
I mean, but
it needs to be real news, man. I don't want if you're manufacturing crap to try to take a person down, what all? That's just getting out of hand. I mean, when they're afraid to call it the Chinese virus, dude, it's from China. We went over that whole situation. 5 of the last 6 pandemics have come out of that same area. I mean, it's not even a racist thing to say. It's just literally from that geographical area. If you want to call it a communist virus from a backwards nation and backwards areas, let's call it that. It's not.
But Mike, let me cut you off right there. Okay, I think the reason why the whole Chinese virus thing is even an issue is because of the source, because of everything that's happened with him and his attitude over the past 3-4 years. That's why. Because this same thing happens 10 years ago, nobody cared you called it the Chinese virus. But the fact that he has been tied to.
What has he done? Well, I mean, this is off topic with the virus, but what has he done in the last 3 years that you don't like in regards to China?
No, I'm not talking about in regards to China. I mean in regards to using that term and people saying, well, that's not a nice term, was a racist term, or whatever. They're saying that based on what's been happening, what's been revolving around him in America over the last 3-4 years. Okay, because this ain't.
I don't know what you're talking about. With China?
No. I'm talking about just the term itself.
I'm not trying to be funny. I really am confused.
No. People saying that the term China virus or Chinese virus is a racist term.
Coronavirus, right?
Yeah, saying that it's a racist term. It had nothing to do with the relationship with China. What I'm saying is the fact that racism is tied to this president. So when that comes, so the fact that he's already suspected and accused of being a racist, him saying something like Chinese virus on
he's racist with anything everything except white. I mean, you.
Let me
you
let
feel
me
like
let,
you
let,
just
let me
like anybody but white people.
no let me make the point. Let me make the point here. Let me make the point.
Okay.
Okay, if you didn't have this cloud over him of racism that people obviously believe, a certain section of America believes that he's racist. Okay.
Right.
So when he says something like a Chinese virus, it's because of what they already feel about him or believe about him, that him using the term Chinese virus, just feeds into that same belief that he's a racist. Now,
Stop
if,
for a second.
now
Think about
you
this logically.
what?
Stop, just really. Where does the virus come from?
No. It's you're not listening. I agree with you 100%. It is a Chinese
Why
virus.
in the world would that be the focus of a news? This is
Because
why Gillen and
no,
these reporters last week.
it's based is
They're going
because
over and over. They're not asking sensible questions. They're focusing on stuff like that.
because we've been conditioned for it because of what's happened over the last 3 years.
It
Okay.
has no bearing on this whole
No, it does
situation.
not. No, it does
doesn't
not.
prove anything.
No, it does
All
not.
it
But
is
that's
is
what
a
we've been
political attack
conditioned
by the
for.
media. Would you agree?
It has nothing to do with it. But that is what we have been conditioned for. Because now it's like we're looking for, whenever he says anything, we're looking for something to latch on to and say, yeah, look, there you go, he's racist. Okay, so anything that he says,
that doesn't help anything. And
no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
That's unfair to the president. And whenever you tell me he goes off on the media, these are the kind of things that he generally goes off on, and he's really.
But he brought it on himself.
Pretty cool.
But he brought it on himself.
I think that the media has been doing this, and he doesn't put up with it. So they just go to the next thing and the next thing. That's the way I view it.
Well, in a way,
I don't see how he brought them defending China is what they're doing. They're defending China and saying, hey, you shouldn't call it the Chinese virus. It's racist when it's a Chinese virus. I don't understand why the media would focus on that. And I mean, not just one time.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this.
He's trying to give real information about what's going on.
Mike, let me ask you this.
And they should be asking hard questions like I'm saying, hey, this would be a good question.
Mike.
How long are we expected as Americans to be doing this?
Mike.
That's a good question.
Mike, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Okay. If this happened 20 years ago and George Bush called it Chinese virus, do you think anybody would have said it was racist?
I don't think it's racist now, so no.
No. I'm not asking what you think. I'm asking you, do you think anyone would have said, hey, that's a racist statement?
Listen to me. You're coming at this from the mindset, and I hate to say it, you think that this president is totally through and through super racist. I get that, and so I understand where you're coming from. There's millions of us that may be weird to you that do not feel that way. We've seen some of the things he's done and said, and we don't look at it the same way you do. I don't think that this president, who's had black people working with him on high levels and what this and that, I don't see all this like you do. Now, there's been some incidences during his presidency that were taken mostly by the media and by the way that people present that situation. He's not a very, very polished, smooth politician. He's very in the gutter, and I tell you what, he doesn't put up with it. Some of us are pleased with it, and there's times where I really think he should just shut the hell up. It's not helping you out. I mean, and when you're defending yourself, when you don't really know what you're talking about, and you say something dumb, that's bad Trump. Not good Trump. Shouldn't have done that. So early on in this thing, when he's trying to reassure the nation and he's telling them, hey, this isn't a big deal at all, he shouldn't have said that. I think that was a really stupid thing. I don't think that means he wasn't taking whatever he was given seriously. These people are in meetings that we don't even have any idea of. He doesn't just sit there and control everything they have to do. Trump probably knows less than we did at the beginning of this about viruses, or this particular virus. So he's having to rely on people that are in these positions. The CDC guy was there whenever Obama was in place. It's not like Trump appointed the guy or is like responsible for the guy, but he certainly is making policy based on this guy or not making policy. So at this point now, man, I don't know how you blame Trump for the late start. All I can do is say to you this way, that the buck does stop with him, and at some point, depending on how the media presents this and the actions he takes now, between now and November, we'll either vote him back in or we won't. And I say we as a nation. Now, I know where you're at on this, and I get it, man. But it's a lot more complex than Trump just sitting there pointing at things and saying things. I mean, the guy does not know everything about everything, even though I think he's much smarter than Joe Biden. I think he knows how to run things much better than Joe Biden would. Joe Biden has not run a cash register in the last whatever. But he has been vice president, so, I mean, I have to give him that. But again, I'm just the computer programmer guy in Little Georgia giving my opinion. But I don't think that Trump's a dumbass, but I don't think that he was just sitting around getting information and saying, I'm going to ignore your information. Let's just blow this off. It's not really going to be a problem. I think he was really probably felt that way. But he also, they pull his chain, man, and he pushes back. Whether that's good or not depends on what people think of the media. I don't think very highly of the media anymore. And that includes some right-wing media. I just don't when it becomes more about winning an election or party stuff over actual policy, the real policy. I mean, this 90 people voted on that bill. That means a whole lot of Republicans were in agreement with parts of that bill the other day that I think is just atrocious, because they just are trying to do something. They want to look like they're doing something. They don't know what to do. So they do what they know how to do, which is to pass more legislation and spend more money. And I think that Trump is on board with that sometimes, and it's not a good thing. We're having the same deficits under him as we were having with Obama. And I went off on Obama for all the trillions of spending over budget, and Trump's doing the same thing. I cannot deny that. Not good. So my negatives on Trump are probably way different than yours, but not all of us go around thinking he's this horrible racist person. But I believe you believe what you believe, and you believe it from a place that's not it's not illogical. And I'm not, I grew up a different culture, different everything from you, and it doesn't mean my culture and your culture is bad or anything. It's just we're different. So it really does paint how we look at things. It really does, and I've had to learn that. But right now, if you say to me that you're hoping that both sides can just work on this and get to something that's really actually going to help us, and leave the politics aside, there's going to be plenty of time for that, and they're certainly going to affect Trump more than it is Pelosi and Schumer. Then I'm with you, man. I'm with you on that for sure. I don't know that both sides can do that. I don't know that Trump can do it. I definitely don't think the other side can do it. And if these meetings that they're having every other day, bullshit questions, I don't think the media is going to be along for the ride in a good way either. I really wish that we had an informative media, not an agenda-based media. And I'm talking about the right-wing side of it too. And it just sucks. It really sucks, because I don't even turn on Fox, CNN, none of that stuff. I get all my information from elsewhere and from people that I know will bash the president, or they'll bash McConnell just as much as they'll bash the other side. It's just that I lean politically towards the things that Trump, as far as policies and belief systems, as far as, America first, capitalism, the rights of the individual, private property. All these things are bulwarks of the Constitution. I don't get bogged down in all this other stuff, man. It doesn't cloud my thinking.
Well, would that
I'm not saying that it's not worth getting bogged down to. It just doesn't cloud my thinking when I go to pull the trigger in the voting booth. And I can see with my own eyes at these press conferences what's going on, man. I mean, I really wish they would ask me. Look, you and I had a good long hour and a half discussion about the stuff that we've seen, debating on this, debating on that, why we think this is wasteful. I just talked about, I'm actually going to the grocery store, and there ain't all this stuff like they say they think there's out here. It ain't really here for me. Now, I'm not starving. I got enough cereal to last me 6 months if I want to eat that. It's all in the house here. We'll get through it. But I don't know that I'm going to get through it economically. And we come out the other side of this in August, if that's how long it's going to take, that's going to be it's just going to be a big, giant mess, man. And I don't know that it needs to be that way. And it certainly doesn't help when the people that are in charge, that are making these policies, are just pulling the trigger on things just to do something, or they're doing everything for political reasons to try to damage the other party or defend themselves beyond whatever. Whenever it's really, you need to be doing what's right. You need to be doing what's actually going to work. And man, I agree with you on that part of your discussion. You're well aware of your distaste for Trump. Hey man, maybe we'll have a discussion about that some other time.
Yeah. Once again, like I said,
I can't really defend what the guy's done, because there's not really much. I don't know. I still think there's a lot of unknown on this. I do know this. I don't think Americans are going to wait till August to come out of their homes. If all these states start shutting down, like Pennsylvania and Connecticut, New York, and California, like completely shutting down I've gone just this week to takeout, I don't know how many times, and picked it up. Because I didn't really have, I can't just eat another, I will if I have to, but I'm not just going to eat another bowl of cereal over and over and over again.
But you're gonna need milk.
Yeah. I'll eat that bowl of cereal with the water right out of the tap, bro. I was a college student with no money, man. I had to pay my loans back, brother.
I know.
Murray didn't help me on that one. I had to go pay my loans back. So I lived a pretty meager existence, man.
I know. Been there, done that.
I didn't. My dad was a tech sergeant in the Army, man. They told me if you want to go to dental school, then you better find a way to pay for it. So I had to go find a way to pay for it. So I got school loans and paid them back, man. I mean, it is what it is.
I feel you, man. I'm still paying my student loans off.
But there's a lot of people coming out of school in the next month or two. It sucks now when it was actually burning up, And I'm not so. I don't know. I just don't see this as you're adding trillions of more debt on these people's shoulders.
Well,
indiscriminately throwing out checks. I don't know. It's just crazy to me. This doesn't seem like it's targeted, and I don't hear the end game. I don't know what they're doing the last 2 weeks. Are they ramping up the testing? I mean, there needs to be more stuff about that. We're getting bogged down in whether we should say Chinese virus or a million other things. Or Biden's coming on television and saying the same thing as Trump to try to look presidential. Great, fine, man. But I mean, it's pretty transparent what you're doing. I don't know the need for that. It just seems like it's all a big political game. Whenever people are really like you and I right now, we're doing okay, but there's people that are trying to get fed or get food, or whatever. They're worried about their jobs. I mean, they're looking at their kids at night going, "Hey, son, my boss just called me, and I'm laid off. I don't know when I'm going back to work." And what does that mean for that kid? Well, it can mean a million things. But nobody's playing softball right now. Soccer, all the things the kids are doing in the summer is toast, man. And maybe we're arrogant as Americans to think we can do that in and out. And you're right, I guess. But what I'm saying is I'm not sure that has to be how it has to be.
Well, let me pose something. Let me pose something, man. Let me pose something.
Sure.
All right. Yeah, you said something about this earlier. Okay, that America is about capitalism. It's a capitalist society. Okay.
Sure.
So if this is a true capitalist society, then it stands to reason that okay, you can't pay your light bill, fine, you're gonna be in the dark. You can pay your car note, I'm coming to take the car. You can't pay your mortgage, you're out. Okay, it's not my fault that you didn't have you didn't plan for a catastrophe of this magnitude. Not my problem. Pay your bills or get out of my house. That's capitalism. Okay,
well, it's a republic. It's a republic with a constitution that uses capitalism as its main economic engine.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is.
But let me hear you out, but go ahead. I think I know where you're going with this, though.
Yeah, and everybody keeps talking about socialism versus capitalism and burning out things he's been talking about in the whole nine, and there's too much government, and the taxpayers' money should be going to pay for people who are irresponsible, all this kind of stuff. Well, this is the truest test of it, because a lot of folks out there, we know folks are not responsible. It's not a racial thing or anything. It's a responsibility thing. A lot of folks are not responsible. A lot of folks, like you said, live paycheck to paycheck, and missing that paycheck will basically ruin their ecosystem, so to speak. Their financial ecosystem is gone. Okay, but if this was a true, if this was a true capitalistic society, none of that shit matters. Too bad you'll be living on the street.
Well, there's two things I'll say. Number one, the government's asking us to do this. We're not voluntarily going home on our own.
But what I'm saying, let me ask you this question. Okay, so
is that true or false?
It's true. It's true. But let me ask you this.
I'm self-hurting my own economic situation right now.
But let me ask you this, man.
You can't really say this is not capitalism. This is government telling you to go home.
No, but let me ask you this, man. Okay. All right. As an American who believes in capitalism, as a conservative American who believes in capitalism, would you be okay if it was a reverse where okay, you can't pay your light bills, fine, you're in the dark, or you can't pay your car note, fuck you, I'm taking your car. Okay, would you be okay with that if we didn't get the checks out or whatever, there wasn't some sort of mechanism in place to help people, and okay, you can't pay your bills, tough. Would you be okay with that?
No, that was where I was going to go with the second thing. Basically, whenever we have externalities that are not really the cause of your own self, I mean, you can't. Let's say
no. Let me stop you right there. No, you can't say that because because you said this before, not on this show, but you said this before. Personal responsibility. If you don't put yourself in a position to weather the storm, okay, and when something bad happens,
Right.
don't look to me to bail you out.
It's one thing to get sick. It's another thing if South Korea nukes Atlanta. You can't possibly plan for that, Alonzo. So yes, I believe the government has a role in situations where externalities are far beyond what you can plan for. I mean, that's what the government is for. It's a republic. It's a republic government with a constitution. But every now and then, I mean, it happened in the Civil War. It happened during World War II. I mean, you have people making decisions that would have probably been called unconstitutional. That were, the martial law and all these things that are put in place literally to save lives or to save people from destroying each other. So yes, I'm totally okay with the government stepping in. My point is, I think if you're going to do that, if you're going to go this far, if you're shutting down an entire state, then there needs to be some damn good reason for that, and there needs to be some damn good plan for handling that. And right now, I'm not sure that this is appropriate, that it's the right thing. I mean, you can't possibly plan for a nuclear bomb, for instance. You can't possibly plan for, let's say this virus was something like the plague, where it was just ravaging 40% of the population. Yeah, they're going to do a lot more than they're doing right now in that situation, because if they don't, it's probably going to wipe out half the population, and then the economy is the least of your worries. Right now, the economy, I think, is going to be a bigger problem than this virus, in my view. It may be myopic. I may be wrong. And there may be a lot of old people that would die if I was in charge. I'm not saying that I would do anything different based on what I'm being told or whatever else from their level. From my level, like street level, like going to get my groceries and sitting at home and, I don't even have it as bad as other people. There's other people that are losing their checks. So the government has a role in these types of situations for sure. But capitalism is the economic engine that drives our prosperity here. I mean, I think you're going to have a better situation in the United States and come up with better solutions and be able to fund it here than you would say Venezuela in its situation right now. I mean, if they had something bad going on over there, they'd need to get bailed out from other nations because they probably couldn't handle it. That's my view. I don't know if I answered it right or if you should agree, but I do think socialism versus capitalism and these types of things, I think maybe China has a better way of walling off Seattle, let's say, because they don't give a damn about your rights or your freedoms or what all. So in some ways, being a capitalist free society has its downs whenever we need to ramp up stuff. And that's what I'm fighting with in my mind right now. What are they allowed to do, and what am I willing to let them do, and what is better for everybody? And these are debates we should be having. They should be having this kind of debate on the floors of Congress, rather than, let's just throw money at it. Let's get something quick, otherwise they're going to think we don't know what we're doing. And I'm not hearing any of that. I do put on C-SPAN and some of this stuff, man, and these people it doesn't seem like, they're getting bogged down on whether or not to include these, employers including sick days and whatnot, how far out that goes and what all. Employers don't want to do that at all. It's not your job to tell us to do that. We decide what we can manage and pay for in our own businesses. You see what I'm saying? I don't know. I guess I look at it totally differently, I guess, maybe in that aspect.
I mean,
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah.
But anyway, bottom line is, if you're asking me if socialism would be able to deal with this better than capitalism, and whenever you have super bad crises, I don't want to find that out. I'd rather us take the capitalist system that we have and keep it, not destroy it. And then, in these externalities where you have something really bad going on, like the flu of 1918 or stuff like that, or the Civil War, or things where the president is then, and the nation is thrust into something that there's no possible way you're involved in it, whether you want to be or not, even if you're doing everything right. So if the government has a role then to try to come in and try to take care of people at that point, because at that point, without them, it's going to be pure chaos. It's going to be a lot worse. But does that mean they can can the governor legally tell an entire state to shut its doors?
Apparently.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, if they voluntarily do it, then yeah, I guess you can. But I don't know if that's even been heard of. I've never heard of it. Have you?
No, I haven't. Yeah, but yeah, I think
I don't know that that's ever happened. And I think these kind of questions should be really seriously thought about by Americans right now. Is this stuff really? Do you want this to be the norm? What happens if this spikes again, in November or December or next year at the same time. And we
Well,
can't be doing this every year, dude.
well, if we're not prepared for it, I think this is a lesson that's learned that we'll make sure this never happens again because we're gonna have a agency in place that all they do is focus on these type of situations, having some sort of plan, break glass in case of emergency plan that they can jump to at a moment's notice if something bad happens. Once again, just being prepared for when we know it will happen again. Just being prepared so next time it does happen, it does not affect our way of life.
The next time it'll be something else, and then we'll all be doing the same thing, and we need to decide whether or not.
I don't believe that because if it happens again, man, I think we will act a whole lot faster because we've been once bitten, twice shy. If it happens again, we'll know. Okay, immediately lockdown. Whatever. Versus waiting 30, 40 days.
It might be a meteorite strike and then it destroys a third of the nation. What I'm saying is it'll be some new thing next time. And what I'm saying is.
We got the Space Force, man. We got the Space Force to handle that.
Well, maybe. We laugh about it, but then until you need it. You laugh about it until you need it. They were laughing at Ronald Reagan about, shooting the nuclear weapons in space before they even land, but now we have all these things in place. You laugh about it until you need it. We're all joking. Everybody's joking about the coronavirus, the little memes and whatnot, but it's not so funny right now because people are like, shit, we're closed. Shit, I might lose my job. Hell, I can't buy, I haven't seen ground beef in 2 weeks, dude.
Dude,
I have to have it. I mean, in the store. If I want to go buy it now, I might have to have you mail me some. If you have tons of it up there, then we're not getting it down here in our little old middle Georgia.
Dude, up here.
I'm gonna have to go to the black market meat guy and find my ground beef, man.
Well, we only have we'll here at my house, man. We have 2 pounds of ground beef left. Okay. And
you better keep it, man.
We're holding to it for dear life, man. We got a lot of chicken nuggets though.
The pros and cons on Trump aside, man. I think the end of next week, and then maybe even partly into the next month. That's about as far as I feel like this is going to be comfortable. When I say comfortable, where people will like go along with it. I think it's going to get ugly. It'll be interesting to talk to each other. Maybe we'll have another episode in a month. And,
where
we are.
I'm counting.
See what did happen or didn't happen, and how these other nations are doing. Maybe Italy's on the way back. Maybe maybe China's completely disease free. Maybe we're on our way down by then, and me and you can like toast a beer online or something and talk it out or something. But I personally am a little worried about our personal freedoms maybe getting, and the economy getting crushed by this. But maybe it could have been maybe handled in a little more targeted, a different way, in my opinion.
Well,
and I definitely don't want to see it getting worse, for sure.
Well, I can't wait until the first checks hit from this stimulus or whatever. I can't wait till that, not check day, but about 5 days after check day to see where we are, whether or not there's going to be rioting and looting in the streets because everybody's broken and another check's not coming. I already had somebody try to drive their car into my office, and maybe they'll be successful and drive through it this time. So I don't know. So.
Man, we're laughing about this, but if it gets bad enough, people will start being weird. I really do. I'm not saying that's happening yet.
Yeah. But I fully expect something to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but I fully expect something to happen, and I expect whatever something happens, it'll be something negative tied to this bailout. I don't see this ending well when it comes to the bailout.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
I don't see this bailout solving anything. That 10 whatever it is, like $1 trillion they're throwing at this now.
Yeah.
Maybe that would have been better thrown like a direct vaccine research, or ramp it up. That they talk about this chloroquinone medication that looks like it's working in a lot of places. I don't know. Have you heard about that?
You talking about the malaria virus and the malaria vaccine?
Yeah, the way that works is it changes that allows the cell to allow zinc into it, and then the zinc apparently attaches to the virus in a way that blocks the little spikes where they can't attach anymore. They can't replicate or whatever. Or maybe it's the virus coat itself, the chloroquinone. It's not because it's just a unique. It's almost like an antibody. That medication gets your bloodstream. It gets to the virus, attaches to the little spikes, point out the way I've heard it. And so the spikes can no longer attach to your lung cells. And so then your macrophages build up in your body, and those are the things that eat up the virus or, destroy it because it's foreign. White blood cells, macrophages.
Well,
in a way, it's a way of blocking the virus from attaching, and so then your body's immune system takes over in 6 or 7 days, and then that's how it works. So it's not because it's this virus is anything like malaria. It's just that drug uniquely binds onto the maybe in a similar way that it does on malaria. I don't know, but that's supposedly that hydrochloroquine or like the is another version of that same drug.
Well, you do
more effective.
Well, I can't.
It's apparently cheap to make. They could be blasting out tons of those pills, man, and just like making it really widely available.
Well, I can't really speak to that, man, because you do know that black folks.
I don't know for sure either.
But you do know that black people are immune to malaria, so I don't think that'll help us.
Well, it would help you because this virus is not immune to that chloroquine. So apparently it does something specifically to that. Now, if you're low in zinc, then obviously they probably tell you to take 100 milligrams of zinc a day, and every day that you're on it, and in 6 days. It's basically each day it's just less and less virus. I mean, something like that could come up in the next 2 weeks, and all this hypothetical crap we're talking about is all gone.
Well, if that's the case, I certainly hope so.
A vaccine, they might have a vaccine instead of a year from now. Maybe it's out in 3 weeks. I don't know.
Well, I certainly hope so. Now, on a final note, I got one more question for you. Okay.
Sure.
Have you seen the movie Contagion yet?
It's been popping up on my Netflix because we're doing a whole lot of home streaming, and I have not watched it. So what can you tell me?
You need to watch it, man, because it basically predicts everything that's happening now. And this movie was made back in 2011. Wow. It is fascinating. I saw it when it first came out, but it is fascinating. Almost to a T, it predicts everything that's happening now. I think it should be required viewing.
Yeah, I think you or me said at the beginning, it's kind of a wake-up call because Americans just typically, I think we're talking about us being arrogant or, not thinking it could happen here. It is somewhat of a wake-up call because in multiple ways. I mean, the government will do things like this now, and also we are not immune to stuff like this, and I think people are realizing, and they're panicking, they're buying up everything. They're realizing, you know what? These people that are like preppers that have all this stuff in their house, maybe they're not so stupid. I don't personally do it, but I never thought that they were crazy.
Well, but you don't want to be the dude.
Plan for weird stuff like this that some sort of electrical grid out. If we ever have like an attack where our electrical grid goes out, we would really go nuts. If there's no power for a couple months, could you imagine?
I've got a generator.
You're talking and you would somebody probably come and get your generator.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
True.
I'm just saying it would be crazy, man. And I don't think people realize they just turn that light switch on and expect it to come on. We don't really think about it, really.
Exactly.
But
and that's why.
I got nothing but time for the next whatever. I'm still working a lot of hours every day, but the kids are home and the wife's here, and so we're trying to make the best of it. Maybe it's better we're having a little together time. I can't complain about that.
Well,
it'd be nice to be together, at something else other than just the house.
Well, I'm still getting up and driving to work every day, so nothing's changed for me yet. So, but that's your assignment.
I'm glad there's a lot of Americans still working.
Yeah.
They tell you the whole state's shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's going to change a lot. I don't know what that means.
Well, let me get off subject for a second now. Okay. My office is in a plaza, so my next door neighbor is a Jamaican restaurant. Okay, and their doors are open. They're serving people. They don't give a damn. They're not social distancing. They're not shutting doors. It's a restaurant. I know they said restaurants need to close in Georgia. They're keeping the doors wide open. Folks going in and out, and they're cooking up some curry. So.
I went to Olive Garden to pick up takeout, and it was open. People were in there eating. Yeah. Like sitting and eating and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And I said, wow, man, I'm not judging you or anything. I'm glad you're here. I definitely didn't want to cook tonight. He goes, well, to be honest with you, this was Friday. It was yesterday. He said, well, this is our last Friday we'll be open. It's going to be takeout from now on. Oh. What you'll do is you'll call, and then you'll call me. You'll call, when you get there, you call them, and they'll walk it out to you. So But I mean, if they shut down the whole state, then I don't know what that Jamaican store's gonna do. Maybe they'll just stay open still. They'll say, "Well, come shut us down."
Yeah, I don't think they really care.
It'll be interesting to see what happens then.
I don't think they really care. And
yeah, I mean, are they going to send somebody to close them down?
they might have to. They might have to, man.
I don't know, man. This is all new territory, man. I've never heard of a governor telling an entire state, especially something like a nation state, like giant, like California.
Yeah.
Like even the corners that are nothing but like prairie land and
yeah.
a farmer, and he's got like a little general store or something. You got to shut down. He's like, man, there's nothing out here but cows and cowboys. You know what?
Cowboys get malaria. Cowboys get the virus too.
I picked Kansas because really 99% of that state there's nothing but farmland. I mean, there's nothing there, and I'm not picking at it. It's just there's probably no coronavirus is ever going to be in any of those areas because nobody's going.
I don't know, man.
Nobody's leaving there.
I don't know. I've been to Topeka, man. I don't know.
Topeka is not most of Kansas. Okay.
I know.
It's like Elko is not most of Georgia. Okay, there's a difference. No offense to Elko.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. So that being said, listeners, what do you think? We had a lot to talk about. Do you agree with anything that we've said? Do you disagree? Chime in below and let us know. And please subscribe and keep subscribing. I do appreciate my listeners. I appreciate my subscribers. Thank you very much for being loyal to me. I do appreciate it. And but yeah, everybody out there listening, if you haven't seen Contagion yet, please see it. Once again, like I said, to a T, it predicts everything that we're going through right now. So I think it'll shine some light on how quickly something like this can spread. And so what do you think about everything that we said? Am I a Trump hater? Am I being blind? Or is Mike wrong? And the timeline correct? Do you think that America acted too slowly? Do you think this is going to last into August? Or do you think it'll turn around tomorrow? Or do you think the stimulus checks will help or hurt? So just comment below. Hit me up on Twitter at whatlonzothinks. Email whatlonzothinks@gmail.com. Please, just let me know what you think. I appreciate you for listening. I appreciate you, Mike. And you just heard what Lonzo thinks. Bye.